Hi, everybody. I am the Curator for Critical Inquiry for the Activist Theology Project. Curator for Critical Inquiry just means that I have the privilege of getting to ask interesting questions about meaning making, about how we assign value to things, and what we consider to be important as we imagine a different way of organizing our reality in contrast to the current systems of oppression that we live within and operate within. As I have been reflecting this year on the upcoming election and thinking about myself as a citizen in an empire, and specifically thinking about myself as a citizen of conscience in an empire, I've been asking myself some really hard questions. And I wanted to share some of these questions with you because as I've been wondering and pondering what my role as a citizen in an empire can be or should be relative to my system of values and the commitments, the ethical commitments that I've made to anti-oppression, anti-racism, transformation of our culture, I have really wondered and seriously questioned, how do I relate to electoral politics in a country that does function as an empire? Our candidates for this year, Donald Trump and Joe Biden, each of them play a role in our empire. And while I am certainly going to vote for the candidate, Joe Biden, who represents an opportunity to keep pushing against empire, I also recognize that the candidate, Joe Biden, is himself an embodiment of our empire, and specifically of our white supremacist, capitalist, heteropatriarchal empire. So while I am invested in participating as a citizen in our political system and have and know that there is value, importance in doing so, I am also cognizant of the fact that simply voting for Joe Biden or Donald Trump is in no way going to advance the sorts of goals that I have in mind for this society, for the kind of society that I would like to live in. So I ask these questions of myself to ensure that I have clarity about what it is that I am doing when I make my vote, when I make my election or my selection on November 3rd. I know that I'm not voting to end patriarchy. I know that I'm not voting to end systemic racism. I know that I am not voting to end systemic oppression in all of its forms or expressions. What I am doing is I am voting for the chance to keep struggling forward and through this current system that we live and operate in. And I ask these questions of myself specifically as a white male living in a white supremacist heteropatriarchal society, but who in my own embodiment is not an acceptable white male because of my own homosexuality. And so when I think about the position that I occupy in our society and the relative power that I have access to, I am also asking myself, how do I, as a white male with access to power, but who is not considered to be the normative white male because of my homosexuality, because I am gay, I am really asking myself, where do I begin to divest from this system of power that privileges white men over everybody else? And so, for example, while I certainly will be voting and have voted in every election that I've had the opportunity to do so, I do make a choice to give my money not to the power centers of our electoral political system. For example, I don't give to the DNC, but instead I give my money to organizations that fight for transformation. So I give money, for example, to the movement for Black Lives. I divert my money, my resources, my time, my energy away from the power center and towards the margins in allegiance and alliance with those who are marginalized and minoritized, including myself, with respect to the aspect of my identity in which people know me as a gay white man. So these are the sorts of questions that I hope that white men in general can be asking of ourselves, is how do we operate in a system that by its very definition, by its very design, privileges us, empowers us to the exclusion of just about everybody else? And how do we move through this system in such a way that we can destabilize it while also continuing to participate in it? How do we do that? I don't have all the answers to that, that's for sure. I'm still trying to figure that out. And listening to and internalizing the wisdom of people whose lives are impacted in even greater ways, in broader ways, by systemic oppression has helped me to think about the both-andness of my lived experience in a white heteropatriarchal society. Yes, I am a white man and I am empowered by the current system. But I now have the responsibility, I recognize that I have the responsibility to turn that power and use it in a way that destabilizes this very system. So how do I do that? I divert my money, I divert my energy, I divert my attention, I divert my commitments to others, to Black women, to trans folks, to queer folks, to issues that I am not directly impacted by, but which I see as all part of the fabric of the society that I am living in and currently am working to change. So for white men out there, perhaps listening to this, I hope that you will join me in asking yourself critical questions about what your role is in this heteropatriarchal, capitalist, white supremacist society, where it is our ethical duty to recognize that this is an unethical system. And as the benefactors of this system, it is our responsibility to name that and to work to change it. I encourage you to vote. I encourage you to be engaged, to be an engaged participant in our political system in spite of its failures, in spite of its faults, in spite of its structural deficiencies. We need participation because we are ultimately building towards a democracy, a true democracy, which we have not had in this country. What we have had has been at best a counterfeit, and at worst has been truly fraudulent, an outright lie, to claim that this is a democratic society, because we have certainly not acted as such. So I encourage you to participate, but participate with the both-andness awareness that what you are participating in and of itself is not worthy to be saved. So we have to transform it.